So we joked earlier, there are 4 games in week 0. Your 4 games this weekend is Florida State, Georgia Tech, 9 a.m. on ESPN. That game's in Dublin. You got Montana State versus New Mexico, Catch the Fever. That's on FS1 at 1 o'clock. SMU, Nevada. That's a 5 o'clock game on CBS Sports Network. And then your nightcap of the day is a 9 o'clock Pacific kick that I don't believe is on television. And it is Hawaii hosting Delaware State.
Feel the mojo.
Cannot wait. The only problem is, by the way, Hawaii is a 40-point favorite in that game.
Yeah.
That is not a typo.
That's insane.
40-point favorite. Hawaii, 40-point favorite.
Jeez.
The only problem is the game might not happen because Delaware State might not make it. They were scheduled to depart JFK yesterday and fly the 10.5-hour flight from JFK to Honolulu.
That's kind of ass on the body.
And they had a bus snafu at the airport and they missed their flight. Wow.
Have we had a further opponent game?
That's
in
what I
college
thought of. Like, if you're
than
Delaware State, like, that's the game. That's such a long flight.
I mean, your guys, would you, okay, what's the longest flight you've been on? Has it been 10 hours?
No. I guess I did when I was a kid. We went to Europe, but we connected in New York, I want to say.
So if I tell you, though, that your
10
10-hour flight gets you to Hawaii, I think you're all in on that. Aren't you?
Until you have to have a 10-hour flight back, and you're there for 48 hours.
Well, no, it's probably shorter because of the jet
it's
stream.
a little bit quicker on the way back. That is true. I haven't seen any updates on this. They were still attempting as of last night to find a different commercial. Like, Delaware State does not have it. Like,
yeah, they're flying.
They're not flush with cash here.
You're getting on that plane going, man, there's a lot of football players on this plane.
All right, you're in 12B. You're in 13C. You're over here
into tiny seats.
Yes.
I'm sure.
And as of last night, they were still attempting to get their team flights to Honolulu in order to play this game. That is the nightcap of week 1, and it is now in question of whether or not it will happen. We asked your worst travel stories. Some phenomenal ones got texted in. Visiting my sister in Chicago when both of my kids got COVID, wife and I had to rent a car and drive home as quickly as possible before we got it. My daughter vomited all over the rental and left her mark in Iowa, Nebraska, and Utah. Made it home just in time before we would have been able to drive into Denver for a 4-hour layover. Oh, no, sorry, that's a different one. 2 years ago, we had the freeze in February. Me, my wife, and 4-year-old son were flying back to Portland from Arizona. Mid-flight over Reno, they turned the plane around because Portland, they were unable to land with all the snow and stuff, sent us back to Arizona for the next 2 days. They kept canceling or rescheduling flights and then made us all fly into Denver for a 4-hour layover. Good stuff, man. Good stuff.
My dad went to Hawaii like 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, whatever it was, and they got literally halfway. He's in like he went out of SeaTac. Halfway and had to turn around because they had a malfunction with the plane.
Halfway, but oh god,
it just made more sense because you can get back to SeaTac quicker than the remaining time to land in Hawaii.
But if it's halfway,
well, it was by technical terms halfway. But when you fly from Hawaii to the West Coast, it's like a 3-hour flight. When you fly from the West Coast to Hawaii, it's like a 6.
Exactly.
So it's a little bit with the jet stream going in your favor. A quicker thing, and so they had to turn around like a 2-hour delay and then do the 6-hour flight. Again, my worst travel story is I've had a really bad experience flying into Denver. I hate flying into Denver. That mountain wind is insane. The altitude drops, the turbulence. But my worst travel story, I didn't have a lot of like problems. It just traveling for 18 hours to Vietnam was
such a long day.
A 13-hour flight is not an experience that I'm like jacked to experience again in my life.
No.
Were you in economy or like economy plus at least? Little recline on the seat?
Do I look like
You're like an economy plus guy.
Yeah,
you look like an economy plus over there.
Possibly business class with some points there.
Ooh, yeah, lean back a little bit.
Schultz, I watched 3 straight movies, and I still had 6 hours to go. It was a crazy experience.
It's like when you have one of those long flights and you fall asleep relatively quickly into the flight.
It's
you're
awful.
Like, yes, and then you wake up and you're like, ooh, we probably are almost there. Let's check. And you're like, it's been 27 minutes.
See, my longest flight ever was 10 hours in like 1999 from Brazil to Chicago. So this was before we really had like the current technology of entertainment.
There's nothing to do.
No, there was an episode of Goof Troop over and over and over
Goof
again.
Troop.
Shout out Goof
Wild
Troop.
West was on one channel.
Classic
and then
movie.
what's that movie where not Robert Downey Jr., but Dennis Hoffman plays a woman?
I'm
Tootsie.
blanking.
Tootsie was
Tootsie
on,
was on.
repeating over and over on a channel as well. We'll never forget those really crappy options to watch for 10 straight
There's a
hours.
lady whose son went on a trip with his class, and they got stranded and had a canceled flight. He's all alone. She cannot get her son back for a week.
What?
They can't get another flight scheduled to go from Iceland to Rome.
That is terrifying.
So he is in Rome by
just
himself.
hanging out in Rome.
14 years old.
Nothing wrong will happen there. One more here, and then we'll go. I had once had a flight home from Chicago through Phoenix with an hour layover. Flight from Chicago got delayed, so I missed my connection in Phoenix. Their solution was then to fly me from Phoenix to Vegas and then catch a flight back to Portland the next morning. I was still in college, and I was broke, and I had to stay the night at the Vegas airport. Those slot machines are everywhere. Do not turn off or get quieter at all. Imagine just being surrounded by people playing slot machines all night, trying to get some sleep in the Vegas airport. So Delaware State, we're hoping they make it to Hawaii. That is the nightcap of week 0, although I don't think it's on TV, so you can't watch it. But they have not been able to find their way to Honolulu yet.